As humans, we are psychologically predisposed to feel and seek love. We come from the result of love, and we begin to feel love as soon as we are born. First for our parents, then for friends and familiars, and eventually we begin to feel romantic love. Though humans have experienced love since the beginning of time, following the creation of dating apps, the way we find love has had a drastic change in the past few years. In this speech, I will examine both the negative and positive aspects of dating apps. I will start off by sharing a brief history of dating apps and their rise to popularity, then explaining the impact dating apps have on ourselves and relationships, to finally provide ways to make the best out of these apps. Having a clear understanding of the impact dating apps have on us is important to ensure we are making safe and responsible decisions when using them. So, first, let's start with understanding the popularity of dating apps. The first use of dating apps can be traced back to 1995. According to Patrick Pamanian, reporter for a newspaper at Cal State University Northridge, the start of dating apps began in 1995 after the launching of Match, the first modern dating website. Then in 2012, about 2 decades later, Tinder and Hinge, two of the most popular dating apps as of right now, were created. So we see that we have a long history with dating apps. But how popular are these apps really? Well, Pew Research Center, a scientific organization that gathers input from everyday people, found that through a survey of almost 7,000 people, 30% of US adults are using dating apps. The US Census Bureau counted 258.3 million adults living in the US, meaning that in the US alone, there are about 77.5 million adults using dating apps. So now we have established that dating apps are alive and very well used by people. So next, let's examine the negative aspects of using dating apps. It is no secret that dating apps are famous for putting people at risk physically and emotionally. And a professor at Brigham Young University, Julie L. Valentine, found out one of these ways dating apps put people at risk. Her study found that out of almost 2,000 sexual assault victims, 275 of them were assaulted by someone they'd been connecting with through a dating app. In that same study, the BYU professor found that out of those 275 people assaulted from dating apps, 165 of them reported a mental illness. This makes sense because through dating apps, you are leaving mentally ill people extremely vulnerable by predators that can easily manipulate information and make them want to believe something that they are not, luring them into becoming sexual assault victims. And though this is a terrible tragedy that we definitely have to work on as we use dating apps, there are some benefits to dating apps. So, third, let's examine the positive aspects of using dating apps. For one, people can find good matches in these dating apps. I previously referenced an article by Pew Research Center. Well, in that same article, it was found that 53% of dating app users had positive experiences using these apps, which means that they either found long term relationship partners or people that they felt they had a good match with or had a lot in common with. So, in these dating apps, you can find good people and people you can get along with great. Second, dating apps can make it easier for LGBTQ members to form relationships. As we know, LGBTQ plus members are greatly marginalized, and it is not easy for them to simply come up to a person and ask for their number because they risk being physically or verbally assaulted by the person. But through dating apps, they can connect with people that are of that sexuality that will not make them feel uncomfortable or unsafe. So they create dating apps such as Grindr, Tinder, or Hinge create great spaces for them to find romantic relationships. So while it is scary to think about the things that are possible when using dating apps, there are benefits. So how do we manage and navigate through these apps safely? Well, lastly, let's find ways to stay safe when using these apps. An article published by RAIN, anti-sexual assault nonprofit, provided ways to stay safe when using these apps. First, they explained that we should avoid interacting with suspicious people. The article explains that no bio linked with social media accounts or has only one picture uploaded in their profile can point to a fake account. And this makes sense because if there's not a lot of information about these people, how can we trust them? We should make sure that we have at least enough information to make out an idea of who this person is. Second, they explain that we should have control when meeting a person that we meet online. They explain that when meeting someone you've talked with online, it's important that you, quote, do not have to rely on your date. By this, they mean that if you are meeting someone in person, you should not have to rely on them taking you to the date and back. Because if you are feeling uncomfortable on the date, you should be able to leave as soon and as fast as possible. And if you are relying on them for a ride back, you're not able to get out of that situation safely. So never have to rely on your date. Call a friend or an Uber if you are able to, so that you know that you are able to get out of that situation if you need to. In conclusion, today we examined the dangers of using dating apps and who they leave most vulnerable. But we also found that dating apps can facilitate relationships for all types of people. And despite the safety concerns surrounding dating apps, people will continue to use them no matter what. So instead of trying to eradicate these apps altogether, people should use these apps with mindfulness, being aware of who they interact with. I encourage those using dating apps to use the strategies we discussed today to stay safe. Instead of rejecting the new changes technology brings, let's make the best out of them while continuing to prioritize our safety and mental well being. Thank you.